Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go.
I don't know why that keeps cutting off. It drives me nuts. I'm going to have to get my buddy Dean Gerhardt from Gerhardt Studios to check that out. It's Ballsy Uncut in the night. That's right. Coming to you live. Hold on a second here. Little disheveled. My Montreal Alouettes placards down. Got to put them back up there. Just their Grey Cup trophy there. Okay, so I'm doing this at night, and you're wondering what the hell is going on here. He usually does it from 4 until when he's done 5:36. Okay, so I might as well be honest with everybody here. I was working part-time at Rancherlo. I just decided that, I liked it, but just kind of decided it wasn't the right fit. So a couple of other opportunities came my way, and I'm training to sell cars. That's right. I've been in the industry all my life as a guy on location telling you to come down and buy cars. So I'm used to being there, but now I'm going to be the guy helping you buy your important purchase of a vehicle at Crestview Chrysler on Albert Street. So that dealership's been around for over 50 years. And I'm happy to be working with Matt Fisher, the general manager, Ken Kennedy, Rob Fensky, and the gang there at Crestview Chrysler, part of the Capital Auto Group. I'm in training right now, so I'm not exactly selling vehicles right now, but I hope if you're looking for your next vehicle, you'll keep me in mind. More on that to come, but I am in training. So because I'm in training and they are going to let me continue to do this podcast, that was one of the stipulations. I wanted to keep doing this podcast, but in the podcasting world, it's going to take a while for it to be self-sustaining. Not everybody can be Joe Rogan basically Joe Rogan's the king. Not everybody can be Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson or whatever. I'd love to be that popular. And maybe one day I will be, but you got to set your goals, right? But I'm also realistic. So it's going to take a while for this to be self-sustained. I've got some great packages coming out for advertisers, and we've had some advertisers get on board, and this thing is growing. Our numbers are growing, but it's like anything. It takes some time. So we move on, and I'm going to look at doing the car sales game, and I'm really excited about it. It's awesome. It's basically you're talking to people. You're talking to people and becoming their friend and helping them buy the vehicle. I'm not selling you anything. I'm helping you buy your next vehicle. So that'll be coming. But with that in mind, I'm still going to try to hammer out 3 of these a week, but they won't be maybe right at 4:00. They could be at 9, they could be at 7, and then you'll get them wherever you get your podcasts. I just put the last 3 up from Ballsy Uncut, plus the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show Grey Cup edition. We had a great time down at Gerhardt Studios. Super Squeeze Seltzers, the beer from District Brewing, and the great pizza from our friends at Mr. D's Stats Cocktails and Dreams, 1832 Victoria Avenue East. Want to watch all your sports down there at Stats, like I did, the Mitchell Bowl, NFL down there, NHL. So yeah, it was great to have that party with Nicole and Dean, Gerhardt Studios, Eric Cox down there, and all my friends, family, and some sponsors who came down and took it out. We're going to have it hitting social media with our recap of the night coming up here very shortly. But yeah, thanks to our 2 big sponsors, District Brewing and, of course, Stats Cocktails and Dreams. All right, let's get to some, we'll tell you today's, some of the sponsors today. Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue. I saw Michael Barth today. It's snowing outside. You need your winter tires. The phone was ringing off the hook. Here's what you do. Call Michael Barth. I was in there today, got my stuff done. Get your stuff done too. 10% off if you call Michael Barth at Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue. Hold on here. I think I might have their card here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Ward Tirecraft. Give them a call, 757-6611, 306-757-6611. Tell them Ballsy sent you, 10% off. 10% off your tires and braking needs. Hey, are you watching the show live? I see a few people are. So wherever you're watching, Give me your name. I'll give you a shout out. Kellen Weeb says, let's go. Hey, Kellen, thanks for checking us out. Tell all your friends. Numbers are growing slowly here. Top left of my screen. So let's talk about the sports of today. Now, as I'm doing this live, there are some hockey games going on. Jets leading Florida in the third 3-1. The Edmonton Oilers got 2 goals and 1 assist from Connor McDavid. They beat the Ottawa Senators 5-2. They took 3 of 6 points on that 3-game road trip. 4-3 overtime loss to Toronto. They looked terrible last night in Montreal. A lot of perimeter hockey. 30 easy saves for Sam Montembeault of the Habs in a 3-0 win over the Oilers. But Edmonton was all over tonight, winning 5-2. Calgary and the Islanders, as I talk now, scoreless in the first. And also we've got Vancouver is home. And who the heck is Vancouver home to? Give me 1 second here. They are home to it's 1-0 Islanders in the second period now. 3-2 Jets and Panthers. Jets were up 3-0, but they're only up 3-2 now. And the Canucks taking on the Rangers. They're early in the first, 1-0 Canucks leading the Rangers. We had 4 games scheduled in the SJHL tonight because there's been a blizzard in Eastern and East Central Saskatchewan. 3 of the games got postponed. Kindersley is in Notre Dame taking on the Hounds. Let me just check that score while we can. If you're going to watch this or watching this in podcast form later, as I'm talking live, but you may be watching this, none of these scores will mean anything to you, but I'm giving a live component of the show. So yeah, Battleford, Nipawin, Weyburn, Melville postponed, Melfort, Yorkton postponed, and it's Notre Dame in the second period leading Kindersley 2-1. And we had some Western Hockey League action tonight too, and those games should almost be done, I think. Let me just check those out too. Why not? Why not? We'll give you a live sports update because guess what? Nobody in radio is live now. I'll give you a little tip. Nobody in radio is live right now. When you turn on the radio, it is all taped. None of it's live. I'm live. Saskatoon leading Medicine Hat 4-3 with 4:47 to go in the third period. And Tri-City in front of Swift Current 2-1. Tri-City is here tomorrow. So, and they're taking on the Regina Pats, as I say here. And I get to dabble a little bit in that because I am the TV voice of the Regina Pats. So I'll be doing the game with Ryan McNally on Access Now tomorrow night. You can catch it live. So I'll go from the car dealership, Crestview Chrysler, get in my vehicle and go to the Brandt Center and call some hockey. So I get to dabble in a little bit. It's kind of nice. Like I said, I wish I was still calling CFL games. Maybe one day I will again. Who knows? I love calling football games. I love calling hockey games too. I still get to do junior football, but I worked all my life to get to be a professional broadcaster in terms of professional sports. I hope to get a crack at it again because I think it did a good job. But sometimes I believe things happen for us, not to us. I've changed my mindset there. So I'm really embracing what's going on at Crestview. Seems like a really good group of people over there at Crestview Chrysler. Okay. So let's get to some of the other stuff making the rounds in the world of sports. Boston head coach Jim Montgomery, who led the Bruins to the greatest regular season in NHL history, but never got them past the second round of the playoffs, was fired today, a day after his team lost to last place Columbus, extending their losing skid to 3 games. He'll be replaced by Joe Sacco on an interim basis. Sacco, not Sakic, I should point out. Alex Ovechkin's day-to-day with a leg injury. The 39-year-old leads the league with 15 goals at the age of 39, and he's 27 shy from breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. Had 5 in 2 games before that leg injury last night in Utah. He scored 2 in that game, then left with a leg injury, but it's not season-ending. It's week to week, so that's good news. The Edmonton Elks, the Elkamos, have named Ed Hervey as their new vice president of football operations and GM. He was with the Hamilton Tiger Cats the last little while. The 51-year-old served as the GM for the Edmonton football team from 2013 to 2016, winning the Grey Cup in his 3rd season with the Eskimos. The Green and Gold went 40-32 during his tenure, but he was fired only 18 months after winning a championship. Then he went to BC, and he quit there after he was he didn't really file the necessary papers with regards to signing Mike Riley as the quarterback with the Lions. So he's back with the Edmonton Elkamos. And so now we see who he brings in as the head coach. Speaking of GMs, the Jets have fired general manager Joe Douglas. Senior football advisor Phil Savage, who used to be a GM with the Browns, I believe, will be the interim GM for the rest of the season. Douglas was in the last year of his deal, hadn't overseen a winning season in New York despite a pretty good draft class. He had a great draft class in 2022, made a trade for four-time MVP Aaron Rodgers. Now, this is what happens when you have a quarterback that wants to be the GM. He wants to call the players that the players he wants. He wants the coach that he wants. Now, there are stories that I was reading. I subscribe to The Athletic, and there are stories that it's Woody Johnson, the owner, who's been meddling all over the place. He was the reason Saleh got fired, not Aaron Rodgers. He wanted Aaron Rodgers benched. They wouldn't bench him. And then Joe Douglas got everything stripped from him. So he has he's been let go. Douglas has had his misses, like Zach Wilson, a quarterback with a second overall pick in, I believe it was the 2022 draft or something like that, or 21 draft. But he's also done a really good job. But this is in some aspects, they got a good roster. In fact, the owner, Woody Johnson, said it's the best roster we've had since I've been the owner in 25 years. But I think he thinks it was he himself who built the roster, not giving much credit to Joe Douglas. Anyway, Douglas is out. They're an absolute tire fire mess at 3-8. Woody Johnson, meddling owner. Jerry Jones, meddling owner. Both of those teams circling the drain. So there's what we can tell you in the world of sports, up to date as it is right now. Getting it live right here. I actually don't mind this. I was doing it 4 to 5:30 or 5:45, but I actually don't mind this. Do you mind this? I think it's kind of neat to be live when things are going on. Rocky wants to know, he says, hey, Ballsy, can you please talk about the Pats and what they're doing? It's like we are rebuilding, but we've been since the damn Memorial Cup. Scotty T says, at least the Jets don't have to get a GM. They have one for a quarterback. Yeah, there you go, Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron's washed. Like, Aaron is washed up. I don't think he'll be back with the Jets. The owner wanted him benched after they lost 10-9 to the Broncos, so sources say. And I can tell you the sources of those stories that you're seeing in The Athletic are Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. You can bet that. Wink, wink. Sources. Wink, wink. Anyway, let me know. Are you liking this? Are you liking this evening chat with Ballsy? Maybe we'll go with this from time to time. The only guy live doing it right now at this time. All right. Much along the lines of what Rocky was saying. It's been an interesting week for both the Pats and the Regina Rams. Rams got a whisker away from going to the Vanier Cup. They had what I want to say was a big Mitchell Bull mistake. And we'll ask the running backs coach, Dwayne Masson, about that and other things coming up before the show's done. But up next, Ken Schneider of the Pats. The Pats traded Jackson Vaughn, trying to trade his brother Corbin. If you missed it, Corbin Vaughn, Jackson Vaughn, first-round picks, recruited together, drafted together. They, I don't know all the details, and even if I did, I don't deal in rumors here. Corbin, the team couldn't put up with his shenanigans, I guess, for lack of a better word, and so they basically said, they disciplined him. He's removed from the team. His brother quits, doesn't want to be there because they benched his brother and basically said, you're done with the team. And so Jackson said, I quit. So they traded Jackson out to, I believe it was Everett, if I'm not mistaken. Caden Brown and a first-round pick come back the other way. And then Corbin is back in Merritt, BC, awaiting a trade, but nobody's really given Al Miller, the GM and the head of hockey operations for the Pats, something they like. So little turbulence in Patland, but we will talk to our friend Ken Schneider, great assistant coach of the Pats. He's kind of like Grandpa Ken amongst the players. He's the oldest coach. They really go to him. He is a definition of a good cop. Also, want to give a couple of shout outs here to two more of our sponsors, Paul Waldo at Royal LePage in Regina, getting the real estate game with the 3-time Grey Cup champ, 306-502-5355, and Gerhardt Studios, Nicole and Dean. They do a great job over there, 1779 McCarra Street, and they hosted my Grey Cup party, and everybody was just enthralled about how great that place is. And if you need a website, if you need social media for your business, if you need still photography, wedding photography, Dean and Nicole Gerhardt, your one-stop shop for all that stuff. Gerhardt Studio, 1779 McCarra Street. All right, here's one of my favorite guys to talk to, Ken Schneider, the assistant coach of the Regina Pats. Thanks for joining me, man, in this forum. Appreciate it. First time we've talked like this before.
Yeah, we haven't done this before, Michael.
Yeah.
On a snowy winter day, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? I have a snowblower, but I said to myself, I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to shovel today. So I shoveled for an hour. So that was my workout. But that was heart attack snow, brother. That was heart attack snow.
Well, I cheated. I came home and fired up my snowblower. So
well, that's okay. You're in good enough shape from what I can tell. So let's talk about interesting times with the Pats. Corbin and Jackson Vaughn. Something happened with Corbin. I'm not going to ask I don't want to go behind the scenes. Al Miller already talked about it, the GM. So Corbin's done with the team. Jackson doesn't want to play if his brother's done, so he gets traded. But what I do want to talk about is we throw this word around a lot, culture. What does culture mean to you as a coach when you're coaching young guys? What does that mean to you?
Well, I guess, Michael, a lot of things race through my mind when we talk about culture, but certainly the first thing that sort of comes to mind is stepping up and looking out for your teammates. In a game like the game we play, hockey's can be somewhat of a violent game at times. There's a lot of pressure in the Western Hockey League, and so you really need to rely on each other and have the respect of your teammates. And I think that's probably the first step. Obviously, there's things like making sure that you're prepared to play every day, so your hard work in practice matters, in particular for young players that, are trying to find their way in the league. The first thing is to learn how to look after yourself, off the ice. I think some of those other things are really important, especially nowadays with, social media is so prominent. So, knowing what's right and wrong and what you might want to say or what you might avoid saying as a young person. The cell phone thing, for the time that I've been involved is a really tricky piece these days. It sounds rather silly, but it can really get away on you as an individual and as a team. So, and being disciplined with so many eyes on you and so many different ways to find people online and cameras, et cetera, et cetera. Those things that all sort of relates to culture in that you really need to conduct yourself in an appropriate manner.
Mm-hmm. And so how important is it for a coaching staff, for an organization to, you draw a line in the sand like this, these are our rules and this is what we do. And listen, we're not talking about two guys that just joined the team. We're talking about two brothers that everybody knows that if you did something with one and then whatever happens, it's a big deal. So, but how important is it for you guys to draw a line in the sand as an organization and say, from your standpoint, say, hey, this is it. This is what the rules are and there'll be consequences.
Yeah, I think it comes over a matter of time too, Michael, in that, we had the Twins for, a fair bit of time. And I think that in the long run, maybe it's going to be a better situation for us and for them. So, I don't really want to talk ill of them, to be honest with you, but you're absolutely right. There comes a point where you've reached that line and, you've crossed it and it's not okay. So we have to make really difficult decisions. These decisions are not easy on an organization and a franchise especially when you're talking about 2 first-round picks. And to be quite frank, off the ice, away from the rink, I love those guys. They were good kids, respectful away from the rink, and hard players. And we just got to that point, and we're moving on. And so now we're talking about the kids that are here and the ones that we're bringing in. We really want to bring in kids that want to be here. For one, you need to really want to play in Regina and be a Regina Pat.
Yeah. And so talk to me about that. Is this a chance for it to kind of galvanize the locker room as an assistant coach? What kind of role do you take on? Because I know you're the guy, you take a little extra time with the Black Aces, and you take a little bit of extra time with the guys that maybe aren't the star players, because I've talked to you about that in the past. So what can Ken Schneider do now to kind of, I don't want to say rectify the situation, but bring it all together? And because it's a turbulent time, there's no doubt about it. We're talking about teenagers too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this past weekend was a really good example where, we went to Brandon, we had to play back-to-back. We just had this massive change in our lineup, losing 2 veteran players to our lineup. And we're going to play a lot of young guys going into Brandon, who's a pretty good hockey team. So sometimes adversity pays off. And I think this past weekend kind of proved that point, that when you face adversity, it does help to galvanize you as a group. And, from my perspective as, the oldest coach on the team, maybe I'm more like a grandfather than I am anything, to be quite honest with you. Just to be there for the guys. Had a great chat today with Caden Brown, who's just new to our program. He's a veteran player in our league, but just to sit down and talk to him, learn a bit about him, make him feel welcome. In my previous life, I was in human resources, and one of the things was onboarding new employees, and it's vital. If you don't do a good job of that, they won't last. They won't last a week or 2 weeks or a month into their time with you. So, making sure that you're doing regular checkups with new players like Zach Pantelakis, unfortunately hasn't been able to play yet. We're excited. I watched him again today, and we're just all of us as coaches and the hockey ops staff are really looking forward to watching him play, because we can see that there's some really good things there for us down the road. And again, making sure that he feels comfortable, and then he knows that he's come to a program that wants him. And I think that's really key.
Hockey culture, not the Pats culture, but hockey culture has really been dented in the last few years, right? So I think that's really good to hear that. And that speaks to how things are changing. Do you know what I mean? Like, just with everything, mentally, physically, the hockey world, sports in general is changing for the good, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I hate to always go back to when I was a kid playing in the league, but man, some of the things that went on to, in particular, young players would never happen today. I know my first practice with the Brandon Weekings was, it was a war of attrition, really. I went out there and got run over for an hour and survived. But, the fact that I was a little bigger, I was a little older when I started, and I'd already played 2 or 3 years of junior hockey, probably worked in my advantage. But it's not necessary. We can find other ways to, help our young players move along. And, I think that's really important. And I do agree. The game is changing. We don't need to ostracize anyone, young or old player. It doesn't matter who it is. Be respectful. We might have our differences, but at the end of the day, we got to work together.
Okay, so Ken, I'll let you go, but we got the Tri-City Americans coming in here. I'm going to be broadcasting on TV. What I love about I've always loved it as a kid. I love when the New Westminster Bruins came in, or the Victoria Grant Fuhr and the Victoria Cougars coming to town. Yeah, Jerome McGill and the Kamloops Blazers. You only get to see these guys once a year, or it's been a long time for some of these teams because of COVID and everything like that. So I get jacked up as a broadcaster and as a fan. Do you guys get jacked up when you don't see, you'll get the Brandons and the Moose Jaws, and that's great, but it's nice to play somebody different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our season is full of playing our division rivals.
Yeah.
8 games or whatever it is, and after a while, that gets a little old. So, to have a team like Tri-City or Everett or Spokane or all those teams that have already been through here, it's fun. I think we did the U.S. swing last year and had a pretty competitive game in Tri-City. They seem to have taken some steps, and we're going to have to be prepared to play tomorrow night. We're going to need to play fast, and I'm excited about it. And we're going to get to see Caden Brown in our lineup, and we're excited about that too.
Yeah, and he comes over from the West. Now it's going to be my last question. I forgot to ask that. What's it like? Like what goes into bringing this kid here? He comes here, he comes into a new locker room. He's not like a 26-year-old veteran pro, like he's a veteran to the league, but he's still a kid. He's coming to, now snowy Saskatchewan, finding billets, everything like that. What's that like for the kid? Because I don't think a lot of people think about that.
Well, yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, he drove from Everett to Regina. And, that's a 2-day haul. He gets here yesterday. He skates with us. He's probably worn out, tired. He doesn't know where he's staying. He's 19, but he's a teenager. And, he's a real good young man. As far as the snow is concerned, he's from Fort St. John, Prince George area. He knows all about snow, so that's not really much of an issue. But he's settled into a billets now, and so there's adjustment. And then he walks into a dressing room full of strangers, doesn't know a soul. So that can be pretty intimidating. Just think of it as an adult walking into a brand new job in your first day. Mm-hmm. That's what it's like. It's no different. Only the difference is roll back probably 10 or 15, 20 years, and you've got a 19-year-old kid standing in front of you. So you do your very best to make them feel good, make them feel comfortable. And I don't think there's a hockey player in the world that if he's not comfortable, he's not going to perform at his best or her best.
Yeah, no, good point, man. Hey, best of luck against Tri-City and navigating through the season and the snow, my friend.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Michael. It's always great to talk to you.
Here with the running backs coach of the University of Regina Rams, Dwayne Masson. So you've been coaching a long time, brother. Where does this season rank in your memory bank, in the things you've seen? Just what a run, what a unpredictable year.
Yeah, it was wild. It's super wild when you reflect on the whole year. I told some of the backs and some of the players on the team after the Hardy Cup, I kind of felt like that was the biggest game I'd ever been involved in, biggest win maybe ever. And then get to the Mitchell Bowl and through all the preparation and everything we did to get ready for that game. And we had to kind of combat some injuries and everything else. And then to be that close and, have a realistic opportunity at winning that game really made it hard. But I've done some really cool things in the coaching community, in the coaching world, provincial championships, city championships, all those sorts of things at the high school level. And then, at the Canadian level, was able to win a few national championships and got to coach for Team Canada a couple times at the International Bowl. And Hardy Cup was the biggest. And this season would be the biggest and the coolest thing I've ever done. It was super.
So, listen, a lot of fans wanted me to have a coach on and ask him a question, and I know I can ask you any question. So I'm going to ask you this question, okay? You're 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
You have 2 linemen down. Yep. You go shotgun, and you have Marshall Erickson in the backfield, he's a great back. He had a 60-yard screen pass on a good call. He had a beautiful, little Eric Dickerson-like run for a touchdown. But he's not a stout guy. He's more a string bean, okay? Let's just be honest, okay? Yeah. You got Katende. Just talk about the method to the madness there, because I called it the Mitchell Bowl mistake. I didn't kind of like the setup, but just take me through it.
Yeah, I can give you lots of info about it. I was right in the middle of making the call, and ultimately, if you could do it over again, you probably would. But Katende was hurt. We had the 2 linemen down, so we couldn't put Christian in the game. That was a non-factor.
Okay.
We were battling the clock. We didn't have much time left. We still had a ways to go. We had a timeout, so we considered that, and we tried to get over the ball and kind of run a play that we thought would be effective. And like I said, man, I was right in the middle of it. It's something. It's been hard. Like I've had a little trouble reflecting on it and sleeping on it. And, you try and get to a play partially because we do have some backup linemen in that we're confident that we can run and execute, and we wanted to get over the ball fast and go. And ultimately it wasn't a great call with the result of it, but I still trust the guys who are in there, and I trust Marsh to try and make that move and get 1 yard. And credit to them, we ran into a run blitz, and in hindsight, a guy wishes he could do it over, but you can't. So
I appreciate your candid response. You're always good that way, and that's what I kind of thought. I thought, okay, if Katende had been nicked up off and on in the back half of the season, so that's the only thing that I would say that's why they didn't put. Because I consider you a pretty smart coach. I think Mark McConkey's a smart coach. Josh Donnelly's a pretty smart guy. So I would think that would be it. So that's good to clear that up. Having said that, though, when you look at this, listen, I've said this a lot. I said this to Noah on the show. You got to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky. And I think we can say that about your season. But it's got to be that way for the Rams because you guys already compete with one hand tied behind your back. No fault of your own. We talked about this before. You're an undergraduate school. You can't offer what other schools can. So that automatically probably cuts out, I would just say, 40% of the people that would think about even coming to your, or you would think of even recruiting is what I'm getting at, right? So you're a small market team. So these things don't come around very often. It's just, and it's not because the program's not good. It's not because you don't have good athletes. It's just the way that it is. So it must feel a little bit like a missed opportunity because I'll tell you what, man, I watch that Laval team, and I said this on the record. I said it to Noah. I'm a Rams guy. I'm a Rams season ticket holder. I was the first guy to buy that alumni package, okay? Very first guy. But if I was betting life-changing money, I would have bet on Laval just because they have the cachet. They came in here, man, and I'll tell you what, they would have been hard-pressed to be 500 in Can West.
Yeah, I can't comment on that too much. Like, it's just so hard. Can West is hard. Everybody recruits hard out here. All the teams are good. Everybody's coached well. Now, having said that, probably all those teams down there are coached well as well. Kind of, to me, the discrepancy in the queue might be that right now Montreal and Laval have definitely cornered the market on the top end players. So those two teams play each other in super meaningful games, and they're really competitive and they're really physical. And so obviously those were the games we watched all the games, but those are the games we focused on. And you see some really, really good football. But if you want to watch week in and week out, you can watch week 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8 in the Can West, and there's teams beating teams every week, and it kind of makes you really battle tested, which sort of worked out for us at the end, on the run. But it's sort of towards the end of the Laval game, we were sort of running out of guys. So we get a little more wear and tear and physicality. Now everybody has that. When UBC went last year, they were pretty beat up, and all those teams. So it's what it is. But I think advantage us a little bit in the fact that we were basically in every game. We were leading every game, or we lost by under 3 points in every game, save for the Alberta game in Alberta.
Let's talk about a couple of your running backs. I already mentioned them: Marshall Erickson, Christian Katende. You run a platoon there. You started to feature Marshall a little more as the season went on, and he did not disappoint. And the exclamation point there in the Mitchell Bowl.
Yeah, so I mean, all those guys can really play. Ollie, Javon, everybody who's in that room is close and is competing. Even a couple of like the young redshirt guys, they're ready to go. Quentin Fettis, for example, he's a young track guy. He's not far off either. And we have a couple of younger recruits as well that are quite good. But the 4 guys who did the majority of the work for us this year are all super talented and can kind of all make plays. We ran into some injuries throughout the year, and that sort of led to some of the rotation, which, again, if you didn't know or you weren't a part of it, it might be a little hard to disseminate. Like, well, why is that guy in here now? And why isn't the other guy playing? And, Marsh and Christian both had injuries at the beginning of the year. Christian was coming back off the torn Achilles, and he had some shoulder issues. But everybody played great down the stretch, and they contributed and kind of did what we needed them to do.
Yeah. How proud are you of a guy like Christian Katende? Like you just said, he had some injuries this year, but I mean, when you think about it, that game in Edmonton, he saved your bacon. I mean, you got to help. But I mean, you think about it. That guy had a torn Achilles. He had an injury the year before that. Probably down on himself. The mental battle. Well, I know he was the mental gymnastics, the battle, and just how proud are you as almost like a surrogate dad on the sidelines when that guy has a 200 and some yard game?
Yeah, I don't look at it that way. I just look at it. I was super thrilled for the kid. He's worked so hard coming out of high school, and then COVID hit. And there's some other, he had some personal loss in his family. He battled through all that, and then he tears his Achilles. Week 2 last year, and kind of there was some thought that might be it. That's not a super easy one to come back from, and it requires a lot of work. And he just battles his ass off the whole time, and he got ready to play, and he stayed engaged and stayed involved. And he's a leader on the team, and he's like a leader with his family. And he does an awful lot more behind the scenes than like anyone would ever know.
Awesome.
Yeah, super proud for him.
And I had the kid on of Métis descent. I said, you got to be happy to be like a role model. I'm talking Noah Pelchier here. Didn't start as your number one, thrust into the role. And as he admitted, it was a roller coaster. It was up and down. The offense was maybe not firing at all cylinders all the time, very opportunistic. But I will tell you this. I texted him after the game. He played through injury and had a really good football game, 354 yards passing. And then after the game, to handle the media and interview right after, I heard his radio interview, that guy showed so much class and grace. It was like he was a 10-year pro. I mean, that's cool. That's what the Rams are about right there.
Yeah, Noah's a great kid, being involved, being around him, coaching. He was on our U18 stuff, and then with the Rams, and he's just a quality person and a quality guy, and he does a lot of work in the off season trying to help underprivileged kids and try to promote the game or promote sport, and he does so much. It's really cool. It's a cool story, and then he gets the opportunity to play, and he really seized the opportunity, and he played great. And in the Hardy Cup, he injures his shoulder a little bit there when he's trying to make a play on the bobbled snap, and we weren't even sure if he's going to be able to play this week, and played great in the game. And we had the one interception, and he went down and he made the tackle with his bad shoulder. Great tackle, yeah. But it's crazy, and for him to enjoy success is great. I'm just so happy for him as well. Really, the message for me would just be so happy for the players and coaches. And just it kind of proves and cements some of the things we're trying to do in terms of culture and team building and everything else. It just shows that the Rams under Coach McConkey are in the right kind of track.
Yeah, and that was my last question. You can talk all you want, but until your guys see it in the building, until maybe recruits see it outside the building, the proof is right there. We put people in the pros. We're a small school, but we look after you. You stick here, you play in a great facility, it's all right. And then to actually for it to show, right? Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, and we've been battling that for a few years where we've had some really good teams, and at the end we were just never able to kind of overcome the hurdle of winning the big games. And the playoff run for us started in week 8 versus Alberta, and Ram fashion, we managed to go down 22-4 in that game, and kind of all we need is a win because of what happened the week before. We come roaring back, and that puts us in the playoffs, which give us a chance. And when we were talking about it, we were just we just need to be in. We need to make it. We'd given up a couple of close games earlier that certainly would have made our life easier.
Yeah,
but we get in, and then a trip to Manitoba against a really great team, veteran team, good coaching staff. Coach Toby's last game, the book was written against us, but the guys never gave up and went out there and executed a game plan. A great defensive game plan, and we got the ball back with a minute, whatever it was, 106 yards or something, and managed to go down the field and give us the opportunity then to go into Saskatoon. Again, a team that, has kind of had our number for a little while. 8,500
people there too.
Yeah. About 3,000 of them were Ram fans, though. It was pretty loud when we had it was good both sides. Yeah. We were ready, silent count, ready to go in case they blew our doors off. But Ram family traveled pretty well, so we had lots of support there.
Oh, come on, Mace. What's that? I know you coach the high level Saskatchewan. See, this is the one thing this is the bad thing about U18, U16, because there's no hate anymore. It's like Saskatoon and Regina get along. We love each other. Everybody loves this guy. Everybody loves that guy.
I'll stop you right there, Ballsy. I'll give you a list sometime off the air, confidential.
Okay.
People I don't really enjoy from up there.
Okay, so I'm just saying, how much did you love going up there and kicking, just stealing from them? You kicked the door down, took their TV, and went home.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for a lot of those players who involved with the program. I don't look at it like we went in there, kicked the door down, and stole the TV. We were a better football team. Everybody discounted us. We beat them by 3. We had some big plays. They had a couple of big plays in that game. And then we went up there and they beat us by 2, and I think we missed a field goal in that game, whatever else. And, for all the talk leading up to it, that they were way better and they were this and that. And I'm not saying that they were saying it, but everybody just counted us out. And it was like, hey, man, we got the opportunity to go Hardy Cup. It's a 2.5-hour drive. It's not ranked travel. We were ready to go. We had a really good plan. Our defense played great. We got pressure on the quarterback. We had turnovers like mad. We got enough points on the board to get it done. And, hey, Hardy Cup, it's pretty exciting. I'm still pretty down about the Mitchell, but here at some point, probably be able to turn around a little bit and really celebrate that.
Okay, and lastly, I got to ask you, where are you moment? Where are you when you're, because my son's playing on the Dinos, and we're very much in the mix till you guys ended up coming back against Alberta. Thanks very much. I appreciate that, jerk. You jerk. But anyway, so we were watching, my son and I were watching the game. I only have one app, and so I gave it to him, like the Can West TV. So he was watching it, and I was FaceTiming with him, and so we could watch the game. And so we're like, holy shit, you got a chance now. Alberta blew it to Manitoba, knowing that they'd still need help from you, which they didn't get. But where were you? Because it was even more immediate for you. Where were you watching that thing, or did you even bother watching it?
No, we did. So you're talking about the
Alberta blowing that huge lead. Because if they don't blow that huge lead, that game in Regina means nothing.
Well, we still had a chance. We would have had to beat them by like 26.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So funny enough, we got off the field. We played game week 7 against U of S, and we lost. That's the game we lost by 2.
Yeah.
And we got off the field, and everybody was like, oh, my God, look at the score. Like, this is unbelievable. They were up, 30 points or something. And they start coming back, and we were actually on the bus. We were loading the bus. Players are getting food. Some players were watching on their phone. A couple coaches were watching on iPads, and it was just like, holy shit, what just happened? And then I remember me and a couple like Coach Steuss, and everybody says, Dobie's going to go for 2. So, of course, that's his MO, right? And then he went for 2, and we won, and we were just like, it was like, you could hear all the players kind of cheering from different spots in the bus, outside of the bus. And it just gave us the opportunity to know that we just had to play a game. We had a game at home, and all we had to do was win.
Yeah, no, man, it was a great season. I was cheering from afar, and then really cheering once the Dinos were out. So, hey, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for always answering my questions. Enjoy the off season because it's been a good season for you. Thanks.
For sure. I appreciate it, Michael. Thanks.
That was Dwayne Masson. Listen, I apologize. Believe it or not, I'm a perfectionist. And so I taped those interviews earlier today after I shoveled my driveway, which, by the way, for fuck's sake, it's already blown back in. I know we don't have hurricanes, mostly no tornadoes, nothing. We're not in a war zone. I get that. But you ask yourself, why do I live here? Why do I live here? Because I'm not a snow guy. I don't ski. I don't have money for a snowmobile. I don't snowboard. I don't do any of that stuff. My significant other's son, Nathan, does all that stuff. I don't do that stuff. So I don't know why I live here. I really don't. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I do love Saskatchewan. It's just this weather, man. But anyway, so I did those interviews, and with Dwayne, he admitted he didn't have great Wi-Fi, so I switched to this other streaming service I use, the one I'm on now to do the show, and somehow my mic didn't register so my mic, so my voice goes through the camera here. So that's why it sounds kind of a little overmodulated. I apologize. Whereas the first interview with Kenny Schneider, a different streaming service. Yes, it's a lot of money to put this show out. That's why I'll be coming out with some more sponsor packages. If you'd like to sponsor, we've got some great features here. And that's why I'm going to start selling cars at Crestview Chrysler so I can keep this love going till it's self-sustainable. Because I believe sports, amateur sports right across Canada, but in particular football, and they need a voice like I believe they need a voice like me to keep going. So that's why I'm going to do it. If you want to get on board and sponsor, you can DM me and I'll send you out a package, and you can see if you want to get on board that way. And then, of course, I'm going to be selling cars at Crestview Chrysler very soon. Make sure you check me out there, new and used. I am really looking forward to it. I don't mean to sound shocked. I'm genuinely looking forward to it. Want to say hi to Drew Koser, coach with the Estevan Bruins watching, Darcy Robillard, Shea Hiroko, who's trained my son at times, Mike Moore, former Ram, who's in Mexico, I believe now, living his best life, Chris Latimer, coach of the Sheldon Williams Spartans, Tim Jorgensen, a buddy of mine who's a supporter of this show, came to my party at Gerhardt Studios, the Grey Cup party, James Hamilton, a friend of mine. I invited him to come to the party, but he didn't show. And Rob Fiorante, our kids went to school together, coached football with him. He's a good guy too, Fiorante Homes. Maybe they want to get on board as a sponsor. Who knows? Maybe I should send Robbie a package. NHL updates here because we are live once again, folks. I want to tell you, you want live, it's right here. It's not, other mediums are not live. They're not live. Like radio right now is not live. What you hear is taped. Oilers beat the Sens 6-2 or 5-2. Connor McDavid, 2 goals and a helper. The Jets beat the Panthers 6-3. Mark Scheifele had the hat trick. Bruins fire their head coach Jim Montgomery. Alex Ovechkin's day-to-day with a leg injury. 39-year-old leads the league with 15 goals, 5 in his last 2 games, 27 from breaking Gretzky's all-time record. Back to the NHL. Islanders are leading the Flames 1-0 after 40. And it's the Rangers 2-1 over Vancouver in the first last I saw. Blades beat Medicine Hat 5-3. Tri-City over Swift Current 3-1. 3 games postponed in the SJHL because of the weather. The Clippers are at Notre Dame. I'll give you a real-time updated score here. If you're going to be listening to this later in podcast form, this will mean absolutely nothing to you. But I'm servicing my live fans, which, by the way, pretty good numbers here. Maybe people watch them before they go to bed, having that bowl of cereal before you go to bed. You have that one bowl of cereal and you're like, oh, it's so good. I got to have still more milk. I'll add more milk and have that second bowl. But the second bowl never tastes as good as the first bowl. It always reminds you should have stopped at one bowl of cereal. 3-2 Notre Dame leads Kindersley in Wilcox, 16:06 to go in the third period as I talk right now. Ed Hervey's the new GM of the Edmonton Elkamos. Joe Douglas fired as GM of the New York Jets, basically a meddling quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and an even more meddling owner in Woody Johnson. Rocky wants to know, do you think the Riders should bring back Trevor Harris? Because I think we should move on, and maybe we should move on to Davis Alexander or Trey Ford. Well, lots to be determined now. Trey Ford is going to be a free agent. You'd think he's going to decide on Edmonton depending on what they do. I don't think he comes back with the same coaching staff. They've got a new GM now. Chris Jones was fired. G-Roy Simon on an interim basis. Boy, I hope G-Roy lands on his feet somewhere. But anyway, so Ed Hervey takes over. We'll see who the head coach is going to be, and then that'll determine probably what Trey Ford does through his agent. Davis Alexander, Montreal's already said, Danny Machoch has already said, can't pay 2 guys. I can't pay 2 veteran guys. So starter money. So Cody or Davis Alexander. Should the Riders bring back Trevor Harris? If he comes back on a team-friendly deal, absolutely. But I wouldn't give him a multi-year deal, and it has to be team-friendly. And I almost would say, Trevor, you're going to be our guy off the bench. We want to develop a young guy. I'm serious about that. Trevor's a great quarterback. He's a great guy. I love him, but I don't, and I know he played well. He was an all-star. but I got to start looking for the future. So if I'm bringing Trevor Harris back, the only way I bring him back on a team-friendly deal, really team-friendly deal. Like he made well over $400,000 this year. No, not even close. I'd maybe offer him 150. And if he doesn't like it, say, Trevor, thanks for your service. We have to move on. Honestly, if you're asking my opinion, I had him on not that long ago, Vernon Adams. And actually, Vernon Adams has agreed to join me on a weekly, verbally agreed. We're working things out. Vernon Adams is going to be joining me as a regular contributor throughout the season next year on Ballsy Uncut. Got a name picked out and everything. Just lining up a sponsor for that. And kind of like Aaron Rodgers, not Aaron Rodgers, but the same setup as Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee, the way they do it on ESPN. Aaron checks in once a week. That's what VA is going to do. That's what we're working on. So I'd probably, VA's 7 years younger than Trevor. Yes, they both have had injury histories. Vernon has never been a true number one guy. I think if he was given the reins, he's got talent. He's very smart and a great leader. We saw that this year, and just a good guy. We had him on the show. If you missed it, go back. Our Grey Cup Saturday edition, November 16th, either in podcast form or just scroll back on Ballsy Uncut on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And you'll see that episode November 16th, I believe. It was the Grey Cup Saturday. Had a great conversation with him. So yeah, lots going on in the CFL. That's great. We'll be talking about it all off season. We're going to kind of wrap up this year's talk with Ben Grant, the color commentator for the Toronto Argonauts and the X's and Argos podcast. That'll be coming up on Friday. We're also going to hear from John Ryan this week, kicking it with John Ryan. We'll talk about his thoughts on the Grey Cup. He was there for the week, and also some NFL thoughts, maybe his buddy Aaron Rodgers. We're also endeavoring to get a hold of Ed Hervey, the new vice president of football operations and general manager of the Edmonton Elkamos. Just trying to get that lined up to promote the league. Most of these teams have been accommodating. They obviously adhere to their local market first, but hey, nobody is talking football in this country like this guy. Nobody. From coast to coast, like butter and toast, all levels. It's right here, Ballsy Uncut. And then also, we will have at some point this weekend, I will air the episode or air the installment of Bourbon and Betting with our NFL betting and fantasy expert, Andy McNamara. Thanks to another one of my great sponsors, AGT Foods Canada, Murad El Khatib, his brother Omar. Michelle also heavily involved with football with her husband Murad, with the Regina Thunder and the Regina Riot, and helping get on board with this podcast. So AGT Foods Canada, feeding the world, helping out in the community, always giving back to the community. So I love them for that. And by the way, serious, go check out Ward Tire Craft. Don't piss around. I used to think winter tires were a scam. They're not a scam. Winter tires make a difference. Go get your winter skins on, courtesy of Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue in Regina. They also have a location in Saskatoon. You go in and see Michael Barth in Regina. Tell him Ballsy sent you. You heard it on Ballsy Uncut. Boom, 10% off, just like that. Just like that. That'll do it for my time. Number's pretty good. We might be onto something here.